Hi, how are you guys doing today? Well, today we're going to be talking about chapter 3 and 4 in our syllabus. It mentions about today's date is chapter uh 3 and 4, I believe. So when we met the last time, we were talking about overview and then discussing our chapter 1, which is about the current business opportunities and corporate governance issue on the international management and corporate governance issue on the international management. And today we're talking about national difference in political economy, society, and culture. So when we think about, you know, politics, economy, society, and cultures, that makes a big difference because sometimes what may be okay in one culture is not okay in another culture. Something to think about. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And yes, I'm in my office. My other room has baby chicks in it because I'm taking care of baby chicks. I want to use them for eggs, but I realized I got some boys instead of just girls. It's okay. I love them nonetheless, but when they do become roosters, I have to get rid of them because my community doesn't like roosters. So, but I know people that do. So let me show you mine. I have these little guys. They look like little ostriches. So the black one is Pepper. The light yellow is Dandelion, and the goldish one, her name is Saffron. Now, there could be boys, like I said, and I might have to get rid of them. My other ones, this one might be a boy. We're not sure. It's really big. It's huge. It's like triple its weight. This one's a little black one. Just ignore that. That's poo poo. I just cleaned it and then somebody decided to go do when I took a picture. That one is lavender. She's also black. She's a silky. The one you just saw was a black, yellow and gold silky toucan. They're showgirls. They're silky showgirls. They're like a half breed. And then this one is a red Rhode Island. That's popular because they use a lot of the brown eggs at the store. And that's another one right here. But this one is like bigger than this one. This one's eating a lot, so we don't know if it's a boy or maybe just a bossy hen girl who wants to be the top of the pecking order. You know, like, but that's them. And yes, these are like little warmers. They go underneath it. It's like the mama. It keeps them warm, or else they can die from being frozen to death. So they get very cold because they don't have their moms. They were I bought the three last week at a farm, and then the ones that I bought on Monday, they were just hatched on Thursday, so they're newborns, and they were on a farm 3 hours from my house. But I met the lady halfway at her other job, and she's a college professor too. I met her at her work at the parking lot. And yeah, they're like $8 each for hers, but she's a little family farm. The other ones I got from the feed store, and they buy them in big gulp, like hundreds of them, and then they resell them for like $5. My friend said back in the day she could get them for $2, but that was before this whole egg craze, you know. Now that everybody wants chickens. Charles L. Hill is Hughes M. and Catherine Blake's professor of strategy and international business at the Foster School of Business, University of Washington. The Foster School has the Center for International Business, Education, and Research, CIRBER, only 117 funded by U.S. Department of Education, and is constantly ranked as the top 25 business school. We want to learn more about Professor Hill at the Foster UV Faculty Research Director Charles Hill, a native of United Kingdom. Professor Hill received a PhD from University of Manchester, the UK, In addition to University of Washington, he served faculties at University of Manchester, Texas A&M University, and Michigan State University. Professor Hill has published over 50 articles in the top academic journals, including Economy of Management Journal, Academy of Management Review, Strategic Management Journal, Organization Science. Professor Hill published several textbooks, including International Business McGraw-Hill and Global Business Today. His work is among the most widely cited in the world of international business and strategic management. Beginning in 2014, Dr. Hill partnered with Dr. Thomas Hutt to formulate co-ownership of the IB franchise of textbooks, International Business and Global Business Today. Brought together two of the most cited international business scholars in history. Professor Hill is taught in MBA, Executive MBA, Technology Management MBA, Management and PhD programs at University of Washington. During his time at University of Washington, he received over 25 awards for teaching excellence, including Charles E. Summer Outstanding Teaching Award. Professor Hill worked in private basis with a number of organizations. His clients have included Microsoft, where he's been teaching in-house executive education courses for 2 decades. He also consulted for a variety of other large companies, AT&T Wireless, Boeing, BF Goodrich, Group Health, Hexel, Microsoft, Philips Healthcare, Philips Medical System, the Seattle City Light, Swedish Health Services, Tacoma City Light, Thompson Financial Services, WRQ, and Wizards of the Coast. Professor Hill also served advisory board at several startup companies. And for recreation, Professor Hill enjoys skiing and competitive sailing. So I hope that you're being able to keep up. I see a lot of students are turning in their work on the Google Classroom, which is great. And then also remember, if for some reason if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can choose to do it elsewhere. You can email it to me if you want to, if it's not working. I just want to make sure that you're getting it done. We don't want anyone to not pass the class because you can't figure out the technology. That really stinks. We don't want that to be you. All right, so we are talking about chapter 4. So I'm trying to get my PowerPoint ready for you guys. Okay, this is my chapter 4, competing in the global markets. So developing a strategy for international business. We have global business strategies, offering a standardized worldwide product and selling it essentially the same manner throughout a firm's domestic and foreign markets. Multi-domestic business strategy is developing marketing products to serve different needs and tastes for separate national markets. Sorry. Here we go. Oh no, it's going too fast. Okay, so explain the importance of international business and main reasons. Okay. Explain the importance of international business and the main reasons national trade. Discuss the relationships of the absolute and comparative advantage in international trade. Describe how nations measure international trade and significance of the exchange rates. Identify major barriers that confront global businesses and explain how international trade organizations, economies reduce barriers to the international trade and compare and contrast. We have exports, that is domestically produced goods and services by other countries. Imports, foreign goods and services purchased by domestic customers. We have right here, what is the nation's trade? International trade is vital because it expands markets for products, allows companies to seek out growth, opportunities in other nations, makes productions and distribution systems more relevant, efficient, reduces firms' dependence on economies in their home nations. International sources of factors production. Business decisions to operate abroad depend on the availability, the price, and quality of labor, natural resources, capital, and entrepreneurship. Why nations trade? The size of international marketplace. Firms are attracted to international business by sheer size of the marketplace. As developing nations expand, the potential for reaching new groups of customers increases. Even though people in developing nations have relatively low per capita incomes, their huge populations are offer lucrative markets. Here's the world's top nations based on the population wealth. You have China, which population in millions is 1,284, India 1,046, United States 281, Indonesia 232, Brazil 176, Pakistan 148, Russia 145, Bangladesh 133, Nigeria 130, Japan 126, Luxembourg 43,400, United States 36,300, Bermuda 34,800, San Marino 34,600, Switzerland 31,100, Norway 30,800, Cayman Islands 30,000, Aruba 28,000, Denmark 28,000, and Canada 27,700. Why nations trade? Major world markets, major trading partners in the US. Firms include countries' northern and southern neighbors, emerging markets. We have major emerging markets of the 21st century. You have Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, you have Poland, Turkey, South Africa. We have China and we have South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines. We have India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. Absolute and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage exists when a country makes a product for which it can maintain a monopoly or that it can produce at a lower cost than any competitor. Absolute and comparative advantage. We have comparative advantage. Supply a product more effectively at a lower price and can supply other goods compared to outputs of other countries. Balance of trade, difference between a nation's exports and imports, trade surplus, and trade deficit. Here's the U.S. international trade in goods and services, annual trade in billions. And then we have the years. We have the imports and exports and trade balance. Measuring trade between nations, balance or payments, difference in money flows into or out of the country. And balance of payments or surplus, balance of payments deficit. We have components of balance payments, monetary inflows, payments for exported goods and services, expenditures by foreign travelers, income from foreign investments earned by domestic residents, investments of foreign sources, payments from foreign governments, monetary outflows, payments for imported goods and services, expenditures by residents, traveling outside the country, investments by residents in foreign securities, real estate, payments to foreign government. We have U.S. exports and imports. The U.S. with combined exports of $2 trillion leads to the world in international trade of goods and services. We have the top 10 exports and imports. Electric machinery, 89 billion. Vehicles, 57 billion. Computers, office equipment, 49 billion. Airplanes, 48 billion. Power generating machinery, 36 billion. Miscellaneous manufactured articles, 35 billion. General industrial machinery, 34 billion. Scientific instruments, 31 billion. Telecommunications equipment, 30 billion. Specialized industry machinery, 27 billion. Vehicles, 157 billion. Electrical machinery, 85 billion. Computers, office equipment, 75 billion. Clothing, 64 billion. Telecommunication equipment, 63 billion. Miscellaneous manufactured articles, 58 billion. Power generated machinery, 63 billion. General industrial machinery, 33 billion. Organic materials, 29 billion. And transport equipment, 24 billion. Measuring trade between nations. Exchange rate, value of one nation's currency relative to currencies of other nations. Devaluation describes a fall in currency's value relative to order currencies. Floating exchange rates, hard versus soft currencies. We have barriers to international trade. All business encounters social, cultural, economic, legal, political barriers to both local and domestic trade. Global business, social and cultural barriers, language, values, religious and attitudes, economic barriers, security or currency shifts, legal, political barriers, international relations, trade restrictions, and free markets. Social and cultural differences, language, values, and religious attitudes, economic differences. We have infrastructure, currency conversation and shifts, AT&T advertisements offering a solution to language differences, electric machinery, 89 billion, vehicles, 57 billion, computers and office equipment, 49 billion, airplanes, 48 billion, power generated machinery, 36 billion. Miscellaneous manufactured articles, 35 billion. General industrial machinery, 34 billion. Scientific instruments, 31 billion. Telecommunications equipment, 30 billion. Specialized industrial machinery, 27 billion. Vehicles, 157 billion. Electrical machinery, 85 billion. Computers and office equipment, 75 billion. Clothing, 64 billion. Telecommunications equipment, 63 billion. Miscellaneous manufactured articles, 58 billion. Power generated machinery, 36 billion. General industrial machinery, 33 billion. Organic chemicals, 29 billion. Transport equipment, 24 billion. Political legal differences, political change, legal environment, international relations. Corruption in business government, cleanness, moderately clean, somewhat corrupt, moderately corrupt, and most corrupt. Barriers to international trade. Types of trade restrictions, tariffs. Tax imposed on imported goods, non-tariff barriers, quotas, dumpings, embargo, and exchange controls. Arguments for and against trade restrictions. 4, protect national defense and citizens' health against raised prices for consumers. Protect new or weak industries, restrict consumer choices. Protects against a practice called dumping, in which products are sold for less abroad than the home market, competing unfairly with domestic goods. It could cause retaliation from other countries, which limits export opportunities for business. Protect domestic jobs in the face of foreign competition, result in the loss of jobs or international business. Retaliate for another country's trade restrictions, cause inefficient allocations of the international resources. Reducing barriers to international trade. Organizations promoting international trade. We have General Agreement on Tariffs in the World, World Trade Organization, WTO, 134 member organization, institutes that monitors GATT agreements and mitigates international trade disputes. Organizations promoting international trade. We have World Bank, International Monetary Fund. We have International Economic Communities, North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA 1994 agreement among the U.S., Canada, and Mexico to break down tariffs and trade restrictions. MER, CO, SUR, and ASEAN and European Union, 25 Nation European Economic Alliance. NAFTA, Mercosur, and ASEAN free trade areas. ASEAN, NAFTA, and Mercosur. 25 nations, the European Union. You have Germany, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Ireland, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Austria, Portugal, Spain, Malta, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Slovenia. You have Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Finland. The introduction of the euro was an event of enormous cultural and financial significance. Right here, you have examples of the euros. While expanding into overseas markets can increase profits and marketing opportunities, can also introduce new complexities to operations. Key decisions before expanding overseas include determining which foreign markets to enter, analyzing the expenditures required, deciding the best way to organize overseas operations. We have international trade research websites and address. You have Asia, INC, and that's business news for Asia, featuring articles on Asian countries from India to Japan. Euro pages, directory of and links to Europe's top 500,000 companies. Emerging Markets Director links sites to information about emerging markets of Asia, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Middle East. World Trade Organization details of trade politics of various governments. CIA World Factbook, basic facts on the world's nations from geography to economic conditions. We have Stat USA, intensive trade and economic data, information about trends, daily intelligence reports, and background data. Access required paid subscription to service. U.S. Commercial Service, Information and Commercial Department Counseling Services, trade events and U.S. export relations. U.S. Business Advisor, one-stop access to range the government of information, services, and transactions. U.S. State Department, listing of the state's department's latest travel warnings about conditions that may affect safety abroad, supplementing list of consulate addresses and country information. Going global, levels of involvement in international business. We have a degree of risk, low, moderate, and high. Low would be like exporting, importing. Moderate would be like contractual agreements, franchising, foreign license of contracting. And high, you see the moderate to control international direct investment, acquisitions, joint ventures, overseas divisions. Importers, exporters. Importers, firms that bring in goods produced abroad to sell domestically. Exporters, firms that produce or purchase goods at home to sell overseas and counter trade. Contractual agreements, franchising, foreign licensing, subcontracting, international direct investment, acquisition, joint ventures. From multinational corporation to global business, multinational corporation, firm with a significant operations and marketing activities outside of home country. World's top 10 marketers, Walmart stores, differentiated retail, United States, 220 billion. ExxonMobil oil and gas, United States, 192 billion. General Motors automobiles, United States, 177 billion. British Petroleum oil and gas, United Kingdom, 174 billion. Ford Motor automobiles, United States, 162 billion. Daimler Chrysler automobiles, Germany, 137 billion. Royal Dutch Shell oil and gas, United Kingdom, Netherlands, 134 billion. General Electric Diversified Finance, United States, 126 billions. Toyota Motor automobiles, Japan, 121 billions, and Citicorp Diversified Finance, United States, 112 billion. Sources of export assistance, we have U.S. Department of Commerce, and then we have the website of 1-800-US Trade and Commerce Department's 68 District Office. Here is destinations and sources of direct investment dollars. Middle East, 1%, Asia Pacific, 12%, Canada, 10%, Latin American, Caribbean, 20%, Europe, 53%. We have Europe, 72%, Middle East, 1%, Asia Pacific, 15%, Canada, 8%, and Latin American, Caribbean, 5%. Domestic donations of investments of the U.S. companies, and sources of direct investment in the United States. And developing a strategy for global and international business. Global business strategies, offering a standardized worldwide product and selling it essentially to the same manner throughout the firm's domestic and foreign markets. Multi-domestic business strategy, developing marketing products to serve different needs and taste separate national markets. Okay, so that concludes the chapter 4. We are going to review the chapter 3 from last week. Let me remove this. Hold on. Oh, sorry, buddy. Happened, everyone's pet. Right, sorry about that. My cats are crying. So, just to review. So, globalization we've been talking about recently is a shift towards more integrated and independent world of the economy. The world's moving away from self-contained national economies toward an independent, integrated global economic system. Why do we need the global institutions? Well, global institutions manage, regulate, and police the global marketplace to promote establishment of multinational treaties to govern the global business system, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, World Trade Organization, WTO, International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank, United Nations, UN, and G20. Declining barriers of free flow of goods, services, and capital. Average tariffs are now at 4%, more favorable environment in FDI. Global stock at FDI was about 15.5 trillion in 2009. Facilitates global production. Technological change. Microprocessors and telecommunications, the internet and the World Wide Web. And we have transitions technology. Declining trade and investment barriers. The average tariff rate in manufactured products as percent of value. We have France, 1913, 1950, 1999, and 2010. You have Germany, Italy, Japan, Holland, Sweden, Great Britain, United States being compared here. In 1960, the U.S. accounted for 40% of the world's economic activity, but 2009, the U.S. accounted for just 24%. Similar trend occurred in the developed countries. And in contrast, the share of the world output accounted for developing nations is rising, expected to account more than 6% of the economic world by 2020. And here is your demographics changing of the GDP and the trade. You can see the same countries being compared in 1963 to 2009 and 2010. In 1960s, we saw U.S. firms accounted for about 2/3 of the worldwide FDI flows. Today, United States accounts for less than 1/3 of the worldwide FDI flows. Other developed countries have followed a similar pattern. In contrast, the share of the FDI accounted for developing countries has risen. Developing countries, especially China, have also become popular destinations of FDI. And right here is how far can the foreign direct investment change. Percent change of total FDI stock 1980 to 2007. You have these again, United States, United Kingdom, Japan, Germany, France, Netherlands, and developing economies. Once again, we have developing countries compared to the undeveloping countries. What is it? Multinational enterprise. Multinational enterprise, remember, is M&E, any business that has production and marketing activities in 2 or more countries. Since 1960, the number of U.S. multinationals has risen. Number of mini nationals has risen. And the changing world order, many former communist nations in Europe and Asia are now committed to demographic politics and free market enterprise. Economies creates new opportunities for international business, but there are signs of growing unrest and totalitarian tendencies in these countries. China and Latin America are moving forward greater free market reforms between 1983 and 2010. The FDI in China increased in less than 2% to 100 billion annually. But China will also new strong companies that could threaten Western reform. The world is moving toward a more global economic system, but globalization is not inventable. There are signs of retreat from the liberal economic ideology in Russia. Globalization brings risks. The final crisis swept through South Asia, East Asia in late 1990s, and the recent financial crisis started in the US in 2007, 2008, and moved toward the world. And then how does the global marketplace affect the managers? Managing international business differs from managing domestic business because countries are different. The range of problems confronted in international business is wider, and the problems are more complex than those domestic businesses. Firms have to find ways to work within limits imposed by the government intervention in international trade and investing system. International transactions involve converting money into different currencies.
L. Globalization Chapter 1 Globalization McGraw-Hill/Irwin Copyright 2011 by the McGraw-Hill Companies Incorporated, all rights reserved. What is globalization? The world is...
Okay, so I just went over this with you. So if you ever want to see it again, it's right there.
When I first started
I'm trying to show you this, but it keeps going to chapter 13 and skipping the other chapter, so I'm gonna try again. That's a commercial pop-up, so I want to make you have to watch a commercial. But I'm sorry, I'm having trouble opening this document. But I wish I would share it with you in the chat box, but I don't have access to the chat. Trouble opening it. You can see in your book, it's got some overviews, some This is a chapter 1, some case studies here. Yeah, he has here. Talks about world trade, GATT, that was in our PowerPoint. GAD, and monetary bank. Okay, so this, I'm gonna put this link in the chat box for you so that you have access to this too. Sorry, the format's kind of weird, but hey, it's free. So what are you gonna complain about being free, right? Well, have a blessed day, everybody, and thanks for logging in. And I will see you all next week. Bye. Don't forget to do your summaries to get credit for today. All right. Bye, everybody. Blessed day.